thinks we're getting started right now? Welcome. It's a wonderful morning. Got a little rain yesterday overnight, but it's a beautiful day, and to move forward with this dedication. I want to thank every one of you who have an interest and was willing to come out this morning and share with us this celebration to dedicate this facility. To start with, I'm going to ask the IEUA Board President, Terry Catlin, to do a welcome and a flag salute.
Yes, thank you, Tom. Yes, welcome, and thank you for being here. I know there's a lot of other things you could be doing, and we appreciate your interest in this project. We've got some great partnerships to talk about, energy management success story there, and you know, this project here is getting our agency closer to our initiative of being gridless in 2020. So there's a lot of great things to hear about today, and again, I welcome you. And if you could please stand, and follow me in the pledge to our flag. Please follow me. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you very much. Hand it over to Tom Love, our GM, CEO at the agency, and he'll take you through the rest of the agenda.
Thank you, Director Catlin. To start with, I do want to recognize certainly the leadership at IEUA and within our community. And if I can have you stand as I call your name, I first want to introduce the board members of the Inland Empire Utilities Agency, starting with President Terry Catlin. Our Vice President regretfully cannot be here today, Michael Camacho, and Director Steve Eli also was not able to be here today. But Director Angel Santiago and Director Gene Koopman, who represents the host city here, City of Ontario. From one of our progressive member agencies, the Cucamonga Valley Water District, Director is Mr. Cortalo here. I haven't seen Jim. But Director Randall Reed, Director Hank Stoy, and Director Oscar Gonzalez. From our neighboring agency, Three Valleys Municipal Water District, Director Dan Moran, and Director Carlos Goitia. And we do have a visitor from Orange County. Well, I'm sure there may be more than one visitor from Orange County. But from Irvine Ranch Water District, Director Pierce Wan. And from Senator Gloria McLeod's office, Manuel Carrillo. There he is. And from one of our local cities, from the city of Upland, Mayor Ray Musser. So hopefully I didn't leave anyone out. I'm sure I probably did, given the group that we have here today. For Inland Empire Utilities Agency, energy management has always been a focus. But in 2001, after deregulation, when the state was going through an energy crisis, IEUA developed a strategic plan, a 7-point energy management plan that included conservation, energy efficiency, load shifting, but also included improvements and opportunities for additional renewable energy generation. And we moved forward under that strategic initiative and did realize some benefits from efficiencies and from additional generation. As part of that process, the agency, through a power purchase agreement, the same type of agreement under which this facility was implemented, we implemented 3.5 megawatts of solar power at our various facilities. In January this year, we commissioned a 1 megawatt wind turbine, again using a power purchase agreement and using the private-public partnership to implement that project as well. And today, under a power purchase agreement, another public-private partnership, we're dedicating a fuel cell renewable energy project, which is the largest in the country on biogas, generating 2.8 megawatts of power that we'll use to power this wastewater treatment plant facility. And so it's very important for IEUA to continue this momentum and move forward. And earlier this year, the IEUA Board of Directors had a vision for getting to the point where we could be gridless during our peak energy needs. Now, we recognize we will always need to have redundancy and a backup supply from the grid, but to the extent we can develop renewable energy sources at our facilities, and as a cost-saving measure, but also as an environmental measure, so that we have a hedge against the future escalation of energy prices and provide that cost savings, pass that cost savings along to our ratepayers. And so we are moving forward on that initiative to be gridless by 2020. And so this project as a single project, is the most significant contributor to that goal. And we're very proud that it is now being dedicated and is being used to generate the electricity to be used in this facility. So it's very, very important to IEUA's goals and objectives. And I think the leadership vision of the board in setting these policies forward so that the staff can go out and implement them. The other thing I do want to mention is that there were numerous staff of both IEUA and the vendor, UTS, and Energia that worked very, very hard to get this facility operational. And I want to thank all of them. There's too many to name. Many of them are here today, and thank you for your efforts on that regard. This is also important on a statewide basis. When we look at the energy situation in the state of California, AB 32 and the goals the state has set forth for renewable energy generation within the state, this project is a big step towards meeting that goal, and we're very proud of that. This ties in very nicely with our other statewide energy efforts as a local water district or a regional water district through our water resource management. And we talk a lot about the water energy nexus. The amount of energy that's used in the state of California to transport, convey, treat our water supplies is significant. So to the extent we can reduce our demand on power and still meet the water resource needs has a statewide benefit as well. Our recycled water supply, for example, requires 1/3 the amount of energy to produce and deliver as does the delivery of water through the state water project from the Delta. And so it's an important energy feature. And I'm very pleased today that we do have a representative from a state perspective, and I'd like to introduce Michael Peavy, who is president of the California Public Utilities Commission. Mr. Peavy was originally appointed to the Public Utilities Commission by Governor Davis in March of 2002. As president of the Public Utilities Commission, Mr. Peavy is committed to protecting the public interest by promoting consumer needs while challenging utilities to embrace new technologies and provide safe, high-quality services. He is a strong supporter of renewable energy and renewable procurement requirements for utilities, and is a leader in implementing California's solar and greenhouse gas initiatives. Mr. Peavy serves as chairman of the California Emerging Technology Fund. Welcome, Mr. Peavy.
Well, good morning. It's true. Do anybody remember Gray Davis? Actually, I was reappointed by Arnold Schwarzenegger. That's why I've been the president of the State Public Utilities Commission for 10 years now. I'm getting a little long in the tooth, as you could probably tell just by glancing at me. But I've had this job for quite a while, and it started with Davis, now then Schwarzenegger, now we got Jerry Brown. But there's a constant in all three of them in this arena, and that is a commitment to renewable energy, a commitment to solar, as was stated, a commitment to wind power, a commitment to fuel cells, to biogas. We want all this mix in California, and by law now, we have to have 33% of all our electricity generated from renewable sources by the end of this decade. We're right now at about 21%. We've come a long ways already. This kind of project is another example of what it takes to make this a cleaner future and a greener future for the state of California. And so it is for that reason, when I was invited to come out and speak here, I decided I would come. Now, it's not that far. Our headquarters are in San Francisco, but I happen to live here in Southern California. Spend a good part of my time here. I live in La Cañada, which is not all that far away. Very short drive here, 45 minutes. So it's a pleasure. It's a pleasure to join you. I also send greetings to you, Mr. Mayor, from my wife, State Senator Carol Liu, who is running for re-election in the legislative district. It now extends from the eastern end, Upland, in San Bernardino County, all the way to Montrose and Los Angeles, all along the 210 freeway. This is a very, let's just say, there's not all that much in common between Burbank, Glendale, Pasadena, and La Cañada on the one hand, and Upland, but we're going to make it all work, right? There we are, see? Got a lot of support there. Anyway, the only reason I came, I just wanted to have you understand, all of you, and I mean, not just the board, not just Tom and all, but all of you, that the commitment of the state of California to the kind of progress and programs that are evident here is very deep, very strong. In many cases, it's been bipartisan over the years and will continue. So what you're doing here and this kind of program is very, very important, and I'm personally proud to be associated with it. Now, I could give you detail about fuel cells and program and our self-generation program and all that stuff. I won't bore you with that, but I will just close on with one point. And this is not, it's an election year. We got an election coming up in a few weeks. I know you're all going to vote for Carol, so I'm not asking for that. But I would say this, just as when you go to the polls in early November, I hope you really reflect that the kind of programs that we're doing here in California, which this is one, are tremendous, and there's a great support politically here in California for these kind of programs. And when we had an effort to try to roll back AB 32 and our commitment to climate change and all that a few years ago on the ballot, it was roundly defeated by California voters. That is all true. But we also need and benefit from a very effective and responsive federal government in this area that's also committed to the same goals that California is. I get frustrated with the feds at times because I don't think they're nearly as effective about it as we are in California. But the head of the Department of Energy is a Californian, Stephen Chu. He's from Lawrence Berkeley Lab. He headed the Lawrence Berkeley Lab before he went to Washington, D.C. The head of the Federal Energy Regulatory Commission is a Nevadan, John Wellinghoff, who's very much interested in renewables and all the other programs about it. And I just hope all of you, when you think about what do we want to have for the next 4 years, as you look through that through the prism of energy policy for the United States, that you understand that we can have a more positive or a less positive commitment to this area depending on the outcome of that election. God bless you all. It's a pleasure to be here.
Thank you, Michael, for those wonderful words. Now, this project wouldn't have been successful without the partnerships I mentioned. And it wasn't just an IEUA and Energia partnership, but there were other partnerships that were formed throughout this. And part of that was the supplier of the actual fuel cells, Fuel Cell Energy. And I do want to introduce Chip Batone, CEO of Fuel Cell Energy. He is the president and CEO of the company, the stationary fuel cell company that manufactured these facilities. Mr. Batone is leading the Fuel Cell Energy team with global expansion in Europe and Asia and market growth here in the United States. Prior to fuel cell energy, Mr. Batone was president of the energy systems business at the global industrial company Ingersoll Rand. Mr. Batone spent 25 years at Ingersoll Rand in a variety of roles involving power generation, so an entire career of experience in energy, which have been brought to bear to this project. And with that, I'd like to introduce Mr. Chip Batone.
Well, I'll be brief, but good morning, everybody. There's a lot of familiar faces in the crowd. I would just like to start and say that, yes, this is the largest fuel cell plant using renewable biogas in the state, but it is also that same thing for the United States. And I'm here to tell you today that this is the largest fuel cell plant on the planet. So those people that were thinking about looking forward, you've set the bar for others, so thank you all. But just to add to that a little bit, success has a lot of stakeholders. But I want to just call out a few people here today and make reference to those efforts because I think they're pretty notable. First, our friend Mr. Peavy here, President Peavy, it starts with a vision. The vision he talked about a little bit was some of the RPS objectives, but also some of the other things, the programs, and the idea that how do we bring private-public partnerships to bear here. All those things were critical in enabling this. The Inland Empire Utility District here, the board, Tom Love, thank you very much. You're the champions of this. You had other choices. I talked to Terry about this a little bit ago, and Tom when I saw him the first time in Washington. But you guys made a decision on the business model. You had goals on both sustainability, et cetera, and we very much appreciate you stepping up and leading as well using the tools and the vision that was set forth before that. And then finally, it takes somebody with commitment. And the folks, Andrew, if I could make reference to you, I know you don't like a lot of notoriety, but Andrew Benedict and Energia, and I'm looking at the rest of the folks behind here, those are the guys that stepped up. They committed their time, they committed their capital, they're committed to this facility to make it work, and they're wonderful people to work with. So again, there's a lot of other people and faces in the crowd. Professor Samuels is here from UCI. I know you somehow had your fingers in this, and a lot of other people committed. The great people of Fuel Cell Energy for their commitment, their dedication, and we're here to make this a success as well. So I'd just like to leave you with the thought that, this is certainly a great step for this district. It's a great step for California, but we definitely appreciate the fact that you guys are taking a major effort as we expand not just the use of renewable energy, but the deployment of fuel cells throughout the world. So thank you very much and enjoy the rest of the afternoon.
Thank you, Chip. Our last speaker is Dr. Andrew Benedict. Dr. Benedict is the Executive Chairman and Chief Technology Officer for the Energia family of companies. Dr. Benedict is actively involved in the development and management of technology related to biogas and other value recovery from waste organics, has over 30 years of experience in wastewater treatment and breakthrough technology development. And on that breakthrough technology development, I have to say that there are a few people who I think are really smart. The first one is my wife. And I never tell her that, but it's true. And Dr. Benedict is one of the intellects that I certainly admire and look forward to hearing from Dr. Benedict and his thoughts on renewable energy in this project. Dr. Benedict?
Just briefly, I want to first of all express my appreciation to all those kind comments. I didn't pay for them. And I want to go on and do what Tom asked me to do, is to tell you a little bit as to why we're doing what we're doing. I have to go back 7 years. General Electric purchased my company at the time, which was Xenon, which happens to be the leading membrane technology provider and is the key piece of technology that California uses for water reuse. I settled here in San Diego and worked at Scripps, and I didn't think I'd do anything more. I didn't need to. And I thought I enjoyed university life, which is my original background. And I got very interested in the ocean and how it's warming. You know, one can argue about the weather. It's a cold year, it's a warm year, but one cannot argue with the ocean. The ocean is warming, and there are danger signs in terms of pH shifts. That in turn convinced me that I should try to do something. And then what should I do? Obviously, it has to be in wastewater treatment because that's the area I know. And then I started rethinking wastewater treatment, and maybe it's not the solution, but it's certainly part of the solution. So when you look at wastewater treatment and you look at waste in general, we take something that has energy content, has nutrient value, and we spend more energy and then try to bury the nutrients. So if you start rethinking what sewage treatment is all about, it should be a mining exercise rather than a get rid of exercise. And I truly believe that this can be done. But it's not going to happen overnight. We've taken a long time to get here. We got here in the 70s when EPA was willing to spend any amount of money to get sewage plants built. We got here in a period of time when energy didn't count, commodities didn't count, and so now it's a new world. And we got here when money didn't count very much. Today, many of our regions are losing people, or if not losing people, losing revenue. So any approach to sewage treatment needs to be focused on reducing costs rather than increasing costs. And private capital has a role because the structure is there now and makes it almost as easy to raise money for a private company. So we started with a simple concept that one should not waste. And there is about $1 billion worth of energy that goes up in a flare in the United States. California is leading the nation on using this gas, but it's still got a very long way to go. Many, many places in America just burn the gas. So that's the low-hanging fruit. Why should we waste this energy? And here is an example of that. But what I also want to tell you, there's a lot more than that. We can make more energy. We can actually make sewage plants energy positive, not negative. And we can avoid burying things in landfills to make methane gas, to make the atmosphere worse. We can instead convert the residues to nutrients. So all of this will be coming. We already have the technology pieces worked on. We got a major research program to get there, but it will take time. In the meantime, we have to celebrate what we do have, and we have a wonderful example of cooperation here. We, on our side, could not have been luckier with this plant. This plant and San Jose are the first two public-private partnerships to turn gas into energy. This one is, as Chip said, is the biggest by far, and it is using American technology. Thank God we didn't have to go to China. Second, it's using wonderful partnership contractors. Tom and Chip in particular was kind enough to point our staff out, but I can only say good things about everyone here in the Inland Empire. We had problems, we faced them, we solved them in the way that nobody had to lose money, and we kept the project going as a team. We had a wonderful subcontractor in HDR and also in Freelance, both highly experienced local partners. So I think this is also a celebration of cooperation, of public-private partnership, and I want to thank all of you who had anything to do with this, and in particular, the people who are responsible to the public that are here. Without you, we couldn't do anything, and we couldn't begin this ball to roll back the energy use in the country. Thank you.
Well, I was right. He is pretty smart, Dr. Benedict. But he also cares, and you can see that in his words that, you know, this is important. It's important for not only our local area, but important statewide, and as Dr. Benedict put it, worldwide. Appreciate that. I want to do one more thing before I have closing remarks, and I would like all of the individuals who were directly involved in the implementation of this project, planning, procurement, design, construction, to either stand up if you're sitting or raise your hand if you're not. I know there's more than that. Don't be shy. These people did the work, got this project done. We appreciate their efforts. With that, I will conclude the program, and again thank the speakers for coming here today and sharing their remarks with us, and thank all of you who took time out of your day on a Friday morning to come and celebrate this event with us. Thank you for attending, and there will be a tour or tours afterwards, so please feel free to join those and see more of the facility.
Just an administrative note, there's a couple ways to see this facility. We have a self-guided tour. There's a handout that's in that bag that you picked up on the way in. You're welcome to stay on the perimeter on this side of the caution tape and follow this if you are curious about some of the technologies. There's also some guided tours that will start immediately below.
Thank you for coming.
So tour groups numbers 1 through 3, if you want to meet us in front of the tent, we'll take you for a walk.